Which candidate? I mean, look,
Down
I tell you, the GOTV effort was there. I don't, I don't know what I candidly don't know what we would have done differently. Are there strategic things we would have done differently? I don't know that there are. Are there tactical decisions on certain candidates, on certain races? Probably, but there's always that second guessing after an election, especially in an election in which a candidate loses. But I don't think, I think our focus on the Secretary of State was the right decision. I think it was appropriate, and I think it served to keep the pressure on her to do what she said she was going to do when she was campaigning for this office 2 years ago. She said she wasn't going to wear the jersey of one of the teams. We proved to the people of not just Ohio, but to the people of America that she was wearing the jersey of one of the teams. That she was, in fact, arguably the most partisan Secretary of State in the history of this state. And so we think keeping the pressure on her, fighting for our candidates, fighting for our voters, fighting for the integrity of the process was the absolute right thing to do for this party, was the absolute right expenditure of the dollars that were made, and I will not second guess. I will not be second guessed on that effort. It was the right thing for 2008. It was the right thing for this election. It was the right thing for each and every one of our candidates who were on the ballot.
Kevin, how's the party going to defeat Ted Strickland in 2 years?
Oh, we'll talk about that in days, weeks, and months to come. And besides, if I had the plan, if I wanted to talk about it, I wouldn't share it with you.
Well,
okay?
I guess
it's not how we do business.
What's the argument that the party's going to be making? And is it is it too early to be making the argument?
Well, look, I think for the past 2 years, Ted Strickland has gotten by trying to blame George Bush for everything. The next 2 years, he's going to have a Democrat House, he's going to have a Democrat President, Democrat U.S. House, and the U.S. Senate, and so Ted Strickland is going to wear the jacket for Ohio's economy. Ted Strickland's going to wear the jacket for whether or not he fixes school funding. Ted Strickland's going to have. Ted Strickland is not going to be able to do what he's done for the past 2 years and try to take credit for things that went well and point blame and assign blame to George Bush for things that didn't go well in the state of Ohio. Look. I mean, we now have the highest unemployment rate we've seen in the state in almost 20 years. He can't blame George Bush for this anymore. He's going to have to take responsibility for it. He's going to have to provide leadership on the economic issues. He's going to have to do something creative and bold, and not just rely on a jobs cabinet as an interesting and innovative economic development tool. It will be nice, candidly, to have the governor back running state government, as opposed to all of the time he spent on the campaign trail looking to elect Obama over the last 6 months or so.
Okay, how critical is the 2010 election? If you don't get control of the reapportionment board, if Democrats have a chance to redraw,
can't understate it. Can't understate the importance of the 2010 election.
If you don't do it, are you marginalized for the next decade and a half?
I don't think marginalized is no, we won't be marginalized because we'll still have good candidates. We'll have a great organization, but the 2010 elections are going to be critically important to the future, not just of the party selfishly, but to the direction of the state.
You mentioned people in response to Jim's question who you want to see run in the future. You didn't mention your cousin. Should he be out to pasture now and stay in Cedarville and write books or something? Or does he have a future? That'd be Mike DeWine, the two-term senator.
Oh, Mike DeWine. Yeah. No, I didn't mention his name. I have not had a conversation with him about what his future holds. So until I have that conversation, it's not fair to put him on the list.
But he's not washed up, you don't think? I mean, you sort of said you got to go with new faces, new ideas.
I think we do. We'll have to find out.
Do you think you'd have Republican women who stayed home in this election because they were completely turned off at the top of the ticket by the negative?
I think there were probably men and women who stayed home. I think there were because of negative ads. I think there are men and women who stayed home because they thought it was already over. I think there are men and women who stayed home because it was 72 and sunny. There's there's a lot of reasons why people do and don't vote.
Do you think one of the reasons is possibly a little conspiracy theory here?
Excellent, I love the conspiracy theory.
He asked the question during Secretary Bruner's news conference yesterday about why the big disparity between who actually voted and what the forecast turnout was. Do you think maybe she overstated what the forecast turnout would be at 80% to try to turn out the Democratic base?
I'd have to think a little bit about that. I don't know that I have an answer for that right now. I'm reading one of the stories today where one Democrat consultant gave Strickland credit for Obama's success in like Perry County. Was it Perry County? What? I don't know. Oh, I forget what county it was. You know, it was a rural central Ohio county, but was silent on the fact that Scioto County, which is the governor's home county, went for McCain. So, you know, I think there will be a lot of review of those sorts of things over the next weeks and days. But certainly the governor spent a great deal of time campaigning for Obama and for House candidates around the state, and we'll figure out over the weeks, days, and months to come how effective it was.